Have you ever wondered how it feels to be lost in the sea of grief, questioning everything you've ever believed in? This is the experience that renowned author C.S. Lewis shared with us in his poignant work, A Grief Observed. But who was C.S. Lewis, and why does his account of grief matter? Lewis was not just an author but a man of deep faith who navigated the treacherous waters of loss after the death of his beloved wife. His book is a raw and honest exploration of his grief, a journey that led him to question his faith, his understanding of God, and the very fabric of his reality. In A Grief Observed, Lewis grapples with a sense of abandonment, a feeling of being forsaken that echoes a struggle expressed in the Book of Psalms, a part of the Bible that encapsulates the breadth and depth of human emotions. Psalm 22:1 articulates a cry of anguish that resonates with Lewis's experience. It says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from my cries of anguish?" This verse embodies a profound sense of desolation and despair, a feeling that God has turned away in the face of suffering. It is a sentiment that Lewis too expressed as he wrestled with his grief. He was brutally honest about his pain and doubt, about his feeling of being forsaken by God. Yet the psalm, like Lewis's journey, is not just about despair. It is also a testament to the human capacity to question, to seek understanding, to yearn for a connection with the divine even in the midst of suffering. This is the paradox of grief. It is a journey of pain and questioning, but also a journey towards understanding and acceptance. So in the midst of deep anguish and feelings of abandonment, Lewis's experience mirrors the visceral pain expressed in Psalm 22. But this is just the beginning of his journey. A journey that many of us are familiar with. A journey that tells us it is okay to question, to doubt, and to seek understanding in our darkest moments. Pain often leads us to question, doesn't it? To seek understanding in the face of suffering. This is a universal experience, isn't it? We've all been there at some point, grappling with the whys and hows of our circumstances. Now this struggle isn't unique or new, it's a part of the human condition, a thread woven through the tapestry of our collective history. Consider the Bible, an ancient text that has stood the test of time. It's a book that doesn't shy away from the complexities of human emotion, the highs and lows, the joys and sorrows. And yes, it contains passages that echo this human experience of questioning, of wrestling with doubt and uncertainty in the midst of suffering. Take the Book of Lamentations, for example. It's a book dedicated entirely to mourning and lamenting the destruction of Jerusalem. A whole book of the Bible just about grief and loss, imagine that. Here we find raw expressions of pain, heart-wrenching cries of despair, and intense feelings of abandonment. It's a book that doesn't gloss over the reality of suffering, but instead faces it head-on. Yet in the midst of all this sorrow and despair, the author of Lamentations also grapples with questions. Questions about God's presence, His love, His faithfulness. Questions that arise from a place of deep pain, but also from a place of deep faith. Questions that are not just about understanding the situation, but also about seeking a deeper understanding of God Himself. This is exactly what we see in C.S. Lewis's journey. After the death of his wife, Lewis found himself wrestling with similar questions. Questions about God's goodness, His proximity, His faithfulness in the midst of suffering. He was brutally honest about his doubts, his fears, his feelings of abandonment. Just like the author of Lamentations, Lewis found himself asking hard questions in the face of suffering. In the midst of despair, can there be a flicker of hope? This question brings us to the Book of Lamentations, a sorrow-filled account of the destruction of Jerusalem. Yet, nestled within its grief-stricken verses, there exists a beacon of hope in Lamentations 3:22-23. Because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. This passage paints a vivid picture of a sunrise, a new day breaking the darkness of the night. It speaks of God's unending love and compassions that are renewed every morning. This promise of renewal, of a fresh start, is a spark of optimism amidst the profound mourning of the book. Just as the author of Lamentations sees a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair, so too does C.S. Lewis in A Grief Observed. Despite his journey through the depths of sorrow, grappling with doubt and feelings of abandonment, Lewis starts to recognize the presence and faithfulness of God. His struggle does not consume him, but instead, it leads him back to faith. The dawn breaking after the darkest night is a powerful metaphor for Lewis's journey. His nights of grief and questioning were long and filled with torment, yet the promise of a new day, of God's mercies being renewed, mirrors Lewis's gradual return to faith. Each morning he wakes to find that he has not been consumed by his grief. His faith endures, proving as steadfast as the dawn. In the face of suffering, questions, and doubt, Lewis, like the author of Lamentations, found solace in the promise of a new day and God's unfailing love. This discovery, this light at the end of his tunnel of grief, was not a sudden brightness. Instead, it was the gradual lightening of the sky at dawn, a slow but certain reminder of God's enduring faithfulness. In the darkest moments of his life, Lewis, like the author of Lamentations, found a glimmer of hope. Grief, questioning, hope, aren't these all part of the human condition and the journey of faith? As we've explored, C.S. Lewis's raw and honest account of his grief resonates with the human experience, and finds parallels in the biblical scriptures. The Book of Psalms, a rich tapestry of human emotions, mirrors Lewis's anguish and sense of abandonment. Psalm 22:1, with its heart-wrenching plea, echoes Lewis's struggle with the perceived distance from God in his time of sorrow. Meanwhile, the Book of Lamentations, a testament to mourning, also mirrors Lewis's journey. Yet, in the midst of despair, it offers a glimmer of hope, much like Lewis's eventual journey back to faith. Lamentations 3:22-23, a beacon of hope amidst sorrow, reflects Lewis's recognition of God's presence and faithfulness even in suffering. In the end, Lewis's journey teaches us that the struggle with pain and doubt is not a detour on the journey of faith, but a part of the path itself.